Okay, so I had a subscriber ask about what it's like having ADHD and just discussing my experience with it. So, I found out I had ADHD about 2 years ago. This was 14 months after working a corporate job, and the entire time I was working this office job, I was thinking, this is really difficult, but everyone else around me is doing this fine. Why am I struggling so much with this? And it took me until the end of that job to realize why I was struggling so much was because I had ADHD, or I still have ADHD. And the experience of ADHD often runs like this. We find something that we think we're meant to do, or something to distract us, or something to cling on to. We run that cycle for a while and then we drop it off the face of the earth, find the next thing, and repeat. And an example, I would go into spurts of hobbies. I would be really interested in boxing or kickboxing or martial arts. I would do it for such a long time and then I would get bored of it and quit. Or let's say I'm interested in playing piano suddenly. Maybe you've felt a similar experience where you get into playing an instrument for a while and then you quit. You get bored of it and quit. And the problem is we latch on to these different things and we drop them. And today I was getting frustrated on this idea because I'm like, well, if this is the life of ADHD, how can we ever get good at things if we're constantly dropping things and never working continuously on them? And of course, what I did is ask ChatGPT, what would Aristotle do? Because I look up to Aristotle. He's an interesting guy, philosopher. He has a lot of values that I personally like, and he came up with them simply through human reason, which is crazy. And to me, I'm like, bro's just speaking to the source type shit. But like, what I'm trying to say is, I asked ChatGPT, how does somebody with ADHD, or how does, what drives people to take actions? Because I'm wondering, why am I not able to take consistent action? And ChatGPT said virtue. And essentially, what ChatGPT says, there's like a virtuous action, and a repeated action builds somebody into a character. So basically, you repeat something long enough and you become what you do. If you want to be a programmer, you gotta program code, or you gotta code or whatever programmers do. And if you want to be a doctor, you gotta, help patients. The action is what makes you become that thing. And so then, but here's, we're back with the problem with ADHD. We have this things we want to do, but we drop them and we are not consistent on certain things. Sure, maybe one day we want to play a piano and be a pianist, but guess what? Another day we see like the saxophone looks kind of fire too. And so this is this is my solution into trying to fix this problem with ADHD. Now, why does this even happen? Now, retrospectively, I've seen so many patterns and cycles of me repeating the same things over and over, of trying finding a new career path, finding a new hobby, finding something that I feel like is my purpose, and dropping it off the face of the damn earth after, you know, 1 week to 2 months or 3 months or however long. And so, and often it happens when things get just a little too hard, is when we drop things off. But then it's like, okay, why does this happen in the first place with ADHD? Well, to me, ADHD minds are very visual, and they are novelty induced motivation. Like, we crave novelty. As somebody with ADHD, uh, I would assume if you're watching this, you have some sort of ADHD or something similar, and you probably know that you are a visual person. You see somebody with a cool outfit, it catches your eye. You have like that intuition about it. You know there's something freaking fire about that fit. Or you may be very good at sports. You love the high reactivity. You know you can react quickly when a lot of things are happening, you're good. Or you're good at video games, especially competitive video games. And I especially think this in guys just because of my own experience, but like we're good at competitive video games because of the fast pace and we're able to process everything that's happening. My point is that this novelty, this sense of high novelty happens because we're visual people. And so when something loses its novelty, and I'm kind of connecting novelty with visual because visual is very, it's a lot to absorb, a lot of information to absorb versus something like a book. A book is very plain in a way, but the cover may catch our eyes. And so, anyways, we get bored of the thing that we're doing and we drop it because it loses novelty. So that's why we're novelty seeking beings. My solution to this is to encapsulate a handful of things that you really care about and cycle through them. Ride them like elements and work on them like you are, the avatar learning each element at a time. And so, in theory, you would pick something, let's say martial arts. You're into martial arts, and you're in a season of your life where you're really into it, and you go all into the sport, and you train, you practice, and then you get bored of it, and that's completely okay. It's ran its course. You move on to the next thing. Maybe it's language learning. You're wanting to learn Japanese. I'm projecting right now. And so you go all in on studying. You get grammar books, you study vocab, you find a tutor or you find a person to practice with. Go crazy. Then you get bored. That's okay. Then you move on to the next thing. Maybe it's, I don't know, writing a book or reading or watching movies or something along those lines. And my point is, instead of dropping, you go on this cycle 5 or 6 times, but on the 7th time or the 8th time, instead of just going on to different things, go back to the start. Go back to martial arts, then go back to Japanese or studying language. And the point is to repeat your selected few. And you might have to work hard in finding new novelty, finding new ways, get creative. I found out, I'll show you something. So I have this device here. It's called an Einthor. It's a handheld gaming device, and I've been playing, guess what, Slay the Spire 2. But I also found what's really cool about it is I can open Anki and study Japanese on this device. So I can like go into a deck and start studying a language instead of just play games on this. And this is really novel. It's fun. I can click buttons and stuff. It's a new way to do something that I'm passionate about. And that's where we have to get creative rather than let our passions drive us. Because I was reading more about Aristotle, and he talks about we want virtuous actions to drive us, not just our passions. And this is a fine line because I'm known for being a very passionate person, although I'm trying to find my passions in a way. But I in my experience, I've seen a lot of problems just purely chasing my passions, because guess what? When you navigate the world and things aren't working out in your favor, it's like there's moments you need to push through and endure versus to switch things. And I really like this Aristotle teaching resonates with me. We become what we repeatedly do. Because with ADHD, the whole problem is we want to do everything. Everything seems interesting, and it's hard to commit or stick with something because we're afraid of losing that novelty. We're afraid of choosing the wrong choice. But in my experience, we got to commit, because I'm thinking longer term, and if I'm mid at everything I do, I think that's going to make me upset. And that's not to say you got to be boring and commit to one thing only. I know, like us brothers and sisters with ADHD, we have the most freaking interesting lives. I've been told, like, low key humble brag, but I've been told I'm a very interesting person, and it's because of the life I desire to live. And it's like, it's a natural. Like, we have this natural ability to find things that are cool and do them. But the thing is, I want y'all to thrive as people and to hone your craft and to be able to flourish as people. And when I'm thinking about my life, I'm like, I don't want to just give up when things get difficult, and I want to be known for something more concrete. I don't want to be the jack of all trades, like solely jack of all trades. I'd rather be a, you know, at least somewhat of a master, at least a master of 5 things. Like, be great at 5 things rather than okay at 50 things. Like, you feel me? So, what I'm trying to say is, yeah, it's it's difficult having ADHD at times, but you know what? Like, we've got to craft the lives we want to live, and we kind of have to be selective in a way. And I'm hoping if y'all are creative, you can craft your meaning behind things. Like, yeah, I'm gonna study this language, or I'm gonna do this martial arts, and write your own story. Like, why are you wanting to do these things? Because when you wane and wean and you feel like you want to give up, you got to remind yourself why you're doing these things. Because it's easier to stop and pick up another language because that new language seems more interesting. Or you want to pick up a different sport because that sport seems more interesting. And personally, I've been trying to I'm trying to select 5 things to juggle between. And it's difficult at times, but I think this is how we operate, honestly. We operate in cycles, we operate in this weird way. Other people can operate doing the exact same thing every day, and that's good for them, but we're different, and that's completely okay. So, like, I encourage y'all to find your 3 to 5 things, and try to keep it at that limit because, when you set self rules for yourself, I was thinking more about this. A self rule is basically just a principle, like your own values and principles. And there's certain principles, if you break, it makes you as a person, like, you become like nothing in a way. And also, it's more fun. It's more fun to play by some rules sometimes. Play like a game. Games have rules. If you could just win by playing a card on somebody, like if you're playing a deck of cards, you can just win because you say this card will make you win. That's boring. So we play by rules. So then it's more fun. But anyway, I'm high key rambling now. But the point of this video is to be like, hey, people with ADHD, we work with weird cycles. It's hard to stick with one job because we want novelty, and that makes sense. And so right now I'm unemployed, and I'm ideating what type of jobs that could work with me, work with my ADHD, that would build my character in multiple ways. Because a job is not just something you give to the world, but it's something that works for you. It builds you as a person. It makes you grow. And office jobs, I don't recommend for people with ADHD. I recommend something more active, or like where you're more focused, or you can be more scattered in a way. Like something like a nurse, I feel like would be a great position. Something in physical exercise, or something like a teacher, which is what I'm personally ideating, because I'm thinking, well, my father and my grandfather were teachers, and then also the fact is a teacher's lifestyle looks so freaking chill. Getting the summers off, winters off, just like a more chill day. I would come home from work, and I would see my dad like napping for 3 hours, but he works really hard as a professor. But anyways, my point is, like, that type of job would work for me because I have time to have space for those other 4 things I really want to do with my life, or other areas. And so if you're in a job that you are just barely tolerating and you're confused and you're wondering like, why can't I just do this? Like that, honestly, you're valid, bro. You make sense. It makes a lot of sense because the way we work is a lot different than other people. And so I encourage you, maybe that job is not for you, but I'm not trying to say like have some backup, have something to explore else in the meantime. Low key, I really like the Artist's Way book. I might be giving it another run through. It takes a long time to finish. It's basically a workbook. I think it takes like 3 or 4 months to commit to because it's active exercises through it. But the whole point of the book in a nutshell is to explore yourself basically. Explore what are things you like, what are things you don't like. I think it's great for ADHD because it's like there's some prompts that are like, if you could live in another life, what would you be doing? And then try to live that life for like a day or something. And it's like I wrote like down an actor, maybe a monk, maybe a pro gamer, like these different lives I wish I could have lived. But it's like, why are you stopping yourself from just exploring that for a day? Because in that exploration, you might find that there's something you can take with you, or there's something that'll lead you down a certain path. It's just to help self-discovery and to expand your creativity. Because another thing in that book, it would be like search for a certain item you'd want. It'd basically make me search for something that wasn't on top of my mind normally, and it would curate my feed. Like I use Pinterest, and I would find new things that I would never find in an algorithm, and it then shifted my algorithm, and basically I found even more cool stuff. So anyways, I'm rambling a lot. ADHD has been extra bad because I've been very stressed here. I'm in Japan. I'm traveling with my cousin, and there's just being in a foreign country, planning and stuff, and all of this. It's kind of crazy, and so that's why I've been chat GPTing Aristotle was my cope device, just my way to avoid therapy, but which I don't recommend. I'm just trying to save money, but yeah, I really, really want to hit home. We become what we repeatedly do, and we have the freedom to choose what we do and who we want to become. And I don't want us to be led by our passions or by our desires or impulses to become chuds. But like, why don't we choose virtuous action, choose with intention, and being like, okay, I want to live this life. This is my intention. These are the actions I'm going to try to take. I'm almost guaranteed gonna fail along the way. But as long as I keep doing actions, it's all about an action, taking the right action towards the life you want. And then it becomes who you are. And eventually, you know what? It'll become automatic because habits are low key automatic. And subconsciously, we're doing things that have just built up over time. And also, fun fact, by when we're in our mid 30s, we would have had so many subconscious habits that if we don't be careful, we're living life on autopilot and we're just doing what we've done for the past 35 years. So if you're, in your 20s, or if you're just wanting to change and you're becoming more aware, like, I think it's a good idea to become more intentional and not be controlled by our subconscious, things. At least if we want to be controlled by subconscious, we can choose what we do, like download a new habit basically. But anyways, that's really all I have for today. Thank you all for watching if you made it this far. Thank you for this content. I really like making content like this. It's really easy and it's helpful when I'm stressed out. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate y'all. Anyways, peace.